Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. The Final Destination franchise has been a hot topic of discussion recently because of the new Final Destination Bloodlines movie that was just released. There have been so many different people doing reviews of not only Bloodlines, but all 5 of the subsequent Final Destination movies. And a big theme that I have noticed is that most people do not like Final Destination 4. It is either just their least favorite or completely hated. However, Final Destination 4 has always been my favorite of the Final Destination movies.
You suck.
I think the best movie in the franchise is probably number 1. So while Final Destination 4 is my favorite, number 1 I would say objectively is the best. I'd say 3 is up there as well as far as my favorites go. It's probably 4, 3, 1, 2, 5, and now 6. I just find 5 to be mostly kind of boring.
Boo!
2, I feel like the plot got a little bit convoluted with death working backwards and all of the characters being tied to Flight 180. It was doing a lot, and then they killed off Devon Sawa's character off screen, killed off Clear Rivers very anticlimactically. Besides the logging scene, which is a classic scene, 2 it does a little bit too much.
That's your opinion?
So Final Destination 4, I know one of the biggest complaints, it is heavily CGI and it was shot for 3D, so most of the action is played for that 3D effect. A lot of people don't really like the opening premonition scene because it's not quite the real life scenario that the other ones had. And while yes, it is a little bit over the top in that it is a crazy NASCAR crash that takes everybody out, I do feel like there is a lot of realism in this scenario. You have spectators in bleachers watching the action in front of them, but they are spectators. They are not supposed to be a part of the action. It's supposed to be a completely safe environment. And then you have the vibration of the cars going by causing unknown damage to these stands where the concrete is starting to crack because it's always rattling a little bit, which I felt was a real element. And then once things start to kick off, you have this stampede of people trying to get out. And I think that's what really gets to me. I have a lot more of a phobia of big crowds than I do of maybe a high-rise building or riding a roller coaster. There's something about the thought of everybody panicking, everybody stampeding, everybody being out for themselves that I find to be really scary. So for me, even though this might be one of the most unrealistic scenarios, I find 6's opening sequence to be a lot more unrealistic. This does have real-world implication and elements to it that I appreciate. I also don't think the CGI is that bad. I just rewatched it. I really wasn't taken out by the CGI. I thought it looked pretty decent. I've definitely seen worse CGI.
Open the door!
So for me, this opening sequence really works, where it doesn't for a lot of other people. Another thing I really like about this movie is 2 of the actors. There's Nick Zano. I don't know if anybody else remembers the Amanda Bynes show, What I Like About You. He played the main love interest of Amanda Bynes on that show, and I really liked his character. So I like seeing this actor again. There's also Chantel Van Santen. She played Quinn in One Tree Hill, Haley's sister, and I just love her as I'm a huge One Tree Hill fan. It's fun to see her in this movie. Also like the chemistry of Chantel's character and the main character. They are boyfriend and girlfriend. I think they're just a believable couple who really care about each other and really fight for each other. I like how she has his back from the beginning. She believes him about the premonitions. She tries to help him save their friends. I think this movie does the best as far as building up what's going to happen as far as the kills go, with a whole bunch of fake outs. You have one lady going into a hair salon and a hairspray can lit up by the hair straightener explodes and the ceiling fan falls, but none of those are how she meets her demise. She ends up getting hit by a rock from a lawnmower that's set up way earlier. There's also a simultaneous scene scene of Nick Zano's character in a pool and another female character in a car wash, and they know that something with water is going to be how the next kill happens, but you don't know which character it's going to be. And both of them are in a terrible situation, but she ends up being saved and he ends up being unalived very creatively in this pool. There's also the ending, which is exciting because you end up getting another premonition scene that takes place in the mall, and again it's people stampeding, everybody out for themselves, and the two main characters end up being stuck on this escalator, and she ends up being pulled into the gears of the escalator and crushed. It's very creative. I've always been scared of escalators, always afraid that my foot was gonna get caught or something and I would be pulled in. Thanks, Dad, for putting that thought in my head when I was a kid, because I liked the two characters and the escalator was so tense. I felt huge relief when I found out it was just a premonition. There's also a scene in a movie theater where there's an explosion on the screen and there's an explosion behind the screen. So as the explosion takes place on screen, the real life explosion bursts through the screen, and that was a really cool effect. I also like how this movie does have a lot of twists and turns, like that second premonition. You have where they think they have defeated death because they interrupted the pattern. However, it turns out they forgot about one of the people who was killed in the premonition, and so they end up having to start over a few times trying to figure it out, thinking they're safe and then being in danger again. The opening credits are also really cool. It's done in sort of this X-ray vision where it shows the skeletal forms of all the people who were killed in the first three movies in their different death scenarios. And then this X-ray vision is at the end when the main character, his girlfriend, and their friend are sitting down and they realize maybe death's not done with them. A bus comes through the window and kills them all, and it turns into the skeletal forms as they are being crushed by this bus. I know this movie isn't perfect, it's just entertaining to me. It's very formulaic. It doesn't stray at all or mix up the Final Destination plot points, and that's what I like. You have the premonition, you have the kills, you have the twists, and the end. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel. There's not a bunch of new things that you have to keep up with. It's just good, mindless fun to sit back and watch. One thing I didn't like about this movie is there's a lot of racism in it. We have the one redneck guy who is very racist to the security guard, and he's one of the first people to be killed after the initial premonition. And while his death is gruesome, I don't think it's enough of poetic justice to justify the racism of the character. You also have a scene towards the end where this random character is being needlessly racist to the healthcare worker that is helping him. Other than being an excuse for the healthcare worker to leave this man in a dangerous situation, it doesn't really do anything to advance the plot at all. Also, this movie is the only one that doesn't have Tony Todd in it in some sort of way, which is disappointing. I did miss his character, and there was a few characters that I thought could have worked well if they had been played by Tony Todd. But the reason he wasn't in this movie is scheduling conflicts, I guess. Just didn't work out for him to be in it. So I hope that is a clear enough explanation for why I like this movie. I know maybe it's a hot take, and maybe the reasons I like this movie are silly. I just don't really get all the hate that Final Destination has around it. Yeah, it doesn't do anything new, but it doesn't take away from anything that Final Destination set up. It doesn't change anything. It just follows the rules that were already laid out. Let me know what you think about this movie or any other movies you'd like me to review. That's all I have for now. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself and drink water. Bye-bye. Subscribe!